Okay.
But I can let you go. You got a lot of practice at it. 2 years.
I do, but you're doing a great job. So you're doing a great
job. Okay, I guess we're ready to go. All right.
We are.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the September 13th, 2021 Forest Grove School District Board meeting. I will call it to order at 5:31. Roll call. Mark Everett.
Present.
Brad Befaro.
I'm here.
Val.
Here.
And Narcy.
Here.
All right, and I'm here also. The school board will hear public comment for unscheduled public appearances received through the designated form on the district website. Patrons who wanted to comment live via Zoom should have already registered as a participant, completed the form to provide their information, and indicated they were going to provide a live comment. If you are providing your comment live as a Zoom participant, please be sure your full name is displayed in your Zoom profile. You can change that by clicking on the participants button, hover over your ID, click the rename, and type in the correct information, and then select OK. Comments will be read by district staff or delivered live via Zoom at the appropriate time on the agenda and will be limited to 3 minutes only. Please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, we'd like to introduce audience and staff.
John O'Neill, Assistant Superintendent.
Kevin Noreen, Director of Human Resources.
Enrique Piñon, IT Manager.
Kim Jira, Director of Student Services.
Eileen Clute, Finance.
And then our visitors, our principals, if you would introduce yourselves.
Summer Johnson, Principal at Tomahawk Upper Elementary.
Go ahead, Pete.
Hi, I'm Pete Mashinsky, Principal at Harvey Clark Elementary.
Juliana Kelly, Principal at Neil Armstrong Middle School.
We're also expecting Karen O'Neill to come in and talk a little bit about the high school. So, oh, there she is. Perfect. Did we get everybody?
How about you, Sonia? You want to introduce yourself as our student rep?
Hi, I'm Sonia Postma, and I'll be this year's student representative from the high school.
Oh, welcome. Welcome, everyone. Okay. I need approval of tonight's agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Can I do that?
Yes.
The motion has been approved by all board members. Correspondence and celebration. Do we have anything, Dave?
No, I'll
Okay.
talk a little bit about opening in my superintendent comments.
Thank you. Sonia, would you like to give your student report now?
Yeah. So basically, everyone seems pretty excited to be in person, and everyone feels pretty much like good about like mask wearing and like safety. And like for split lunches, like I have it, and like the people who I've talked to, they've for the most part enjoyed having split lunch. So that's like a new thing at the high school, and I'm possibly other schools, I'm guessing. And so mostly just like positive things is what I've heard.
Sonia, could you explain what split lunch is?
So basically, there's like first lunch and second lunch usually, depending on whether your class is upstairs or downstairs. but this year, because like we can't have like so many people in the cafeteria at once, we're doing like split lunch. So in the middle of like someone's third block, people would go to lunch, and then after lunch they would go back to that same class. And so like I have it, and I thought it went pretty well. There were just like a couple of questions about how tests will go, but I've only heard like positive things about it.
Great, thanks.
Anything else, Sonia? Okay, thank you very much. Calendar notes.
Sports are often rolling and activities are starting to get going. So again, as you'll see more of these events kind of popping up on your calendars. It's fun. I'm going to talk about it in my superintendent report, but just wanted to kind of highlight that for board members that there are things going on.
Wonderful.
Yeah, the football game was super fun Friday night. I just want to say something real quick about it. That there was a lot of people that came to support the team, and it was a lot of fun. They played great. Exciting to see the new coach and see what they're doing. So come out and support them some more. There's 4 more home games, I think, this season.
Oh, that's great. Thanks, Val. So recognition. Do we have any recognitions, Dave?
Not at this point, just my superintendent comments.
All right, go ahead.
So I want to talk through some of the things going on right now, and you're going to have principals are going to come in and give you even more information about what it looks like at the school level, both what's going well and what are some of the challenges. But I wanted to talk about a couple of different things. The first one is transportation. Across our state and nation, there's a shortage of bus drivers. All Washington County school districts are feeling the effects of this driver shortage, and Forest Grove is right there with them. This combined with COVID-19 is impacting our own district and our Midco staff, and this has impacted many of our routes. Especially in this first week of school. Midco has brought in support from other districts to help bridge some of these gaps in our district. They're working hard to ensure that students have access to and from school. We have everybody who has a driving license is out driving right now. We have training going on, so there are drivers being trained. They're actively still recruiting to bring in more drivers. But this is continuing to be challenging in these first weeks, and it is causing delays with routes and pickup times. Today, we did do better. There were, the lateness was not as bad, and so there were some improvements today. But we're just going to ask our community's continued understanding and patience as we resolve this. There are many districts in a much, much worse place than we are. We're struggling, but it's still, it could be worse, that's for sure. So again, we appreciate Midco and everyone's, there's a lot of people that are working really hard just to make sure that we're getting all the kids home and picking them up. So a lot of work going on there, a lot of challenges. And then I wanted to talk about last Friday was the first home football game at Forest Grove High School in almost 2 years. There was a lot of excitement in the stadium. It was great to see our team run onto the field with the band playing, the cheerleaders leading the crowd, the dance line performance at halftime. I mean, Summer Johnson's here, but David Johnson in the first game, the first kickoff, ran it back for a touchdown. And that night, last Friday, he caught the ball and started running, and he accidentally stepped out on the 39, but otherwise he was down near the end zone again, and it was almost everybody was going crazy because it would have been an awesome start to that game. Again, you don't really realize what you've got until you lose it, and so it was great to see our folks at the game and kids supporting their team, and it was just it was a great night. Everyone worked really hard to utilize the safety precautions we put into place. We really didn't have any issues there. And so far, that's what we need to keep going in the school years, keep these schools open, is for folks to pay attention to those things. So again, I just want to highlight that it was a lot of fun. We have other sports, we have soccer, we have volleyball. Things are off and rolling. Wanted to talk briefly about where we're at with the vaccination requirements for staff. Currently, we have about 91.2% of our staff that are already vaccinated. It looks like we've got about another 4.6% of our staff will be vaccinated in time for the governor's vaccination mandate, which puts us right at 95.8 or 96% of our staff being currently vaccinated, which those are very, very good numbers. There's about 20 or 30 folks who are not in those numbers who will apply for medical or religious exemption. We'll be working with our staff and with HR over the coming week to meet with those employees and discuss the exemptions that they're putting forward, and then based on what the law says, approve or disapprove those exemptions. For an employee who receives an exemption, there'll be more extended health precautions that are expected of them. We'll set those out for employees, and they'll need to follow them to ensure everyone's safety. If the employee's job is such they can't safely do it while following those extended health protocols, then we'll try to place them in another position, or we're working with our employee groups to kind of figure out what that next step would be for an employee who we can't safely utilize in our organization. Lots of work still to do on that, but I wanted everyone to kind of know where we're at and what the numbers look like. And I feel pretty good about where we're at, and I feel like we can work through with the remaining staff who might have medical or religious exemptions. Then I want to just spend a little time on kind of what I'm hearing from local county health. So this next part to follow is basically from local county health, and it's what they're telling us about kind of where we're at with this surge. The level of community transmission remains high. It's about 163 cases per 100,000. We are seeing, at least from our viewpoint, that it looks like we're starting to level off. But we're not quite there. The most common variant found in Washington County right now continues to be the Delta, with about basically all of the sequence samples that they tested. They don't test every person's positive. They take a sampling of those. Currently, all of those samples are Delta. So that's the majority of what we're seeing right now in our county. Hospitalizations have increased to nearly the highest level this calendar year, but they're still less than half of what we saw last November, December, when Washington County had its worst surge of the pandemic. So as a county, we're still doing better. I think it was just released today, maybe over the weekend, that Washington County hit 80% of the county being vaccinated, which again is helping this. Oregon ranks 18th in the number of new cases per day, and the ratio of cases for unvaccinated to vaccinated is approximately 6-to-1. And OHSU modeling suggests that this surge is still expected to peak in late September and early October, and then decrease significantly. So that's the time period. I did have a chance to ask this question of local county health today, because it looks to me in the graphs like we're starting to level off. They're not actually expecting that to happen for another week and a half, 2 weeks. So we'll see kind of where that goes with this. We are, as of Friday, we're going to start posting where our cases are, both staff and student. To ensure that we're not identifying individuals, we're not going to be breaking it down more than that. But we do want to make sure people know where cases are happening, and we want to be transparent about that. And then last thing, we're working really hard to limit the exposures for all staff in activities, and we want to make sure we keep our schools open. So we're trying to set, when we're bringing staff together, that we're doing that virtually rather than in person. And we're trying to cut down on everything that's outside that may put our teachers in a situation where they can be exposed. They're already, with our classrooms being open, there's a certain amount of risk there. We're trying to close down all the rest of that so that we can keep the schools open. So I just wanted you to know kind of how we're managing some of that. And then I'd take questions. I know I went over the vaccination requirements and the current status of the virus. So I take questions from board members if there are some.
So Dave, I have a question. My question is, you know, how do they do lunches at the other schools in the district? I know I understand about the high school now with the split lunch, but is that an issue at the other schools? Or?
Yes, and I'll let principals kind of talk about it because I know it'll come up in their conversations. But the basic gist, Mark, is we're doing a couple of different things, trying to limit the number of kids in the cafeteria, have more kids outside, and then there may be the scheduling piece. So they're kind of working a couple of different strategies. And like I said, I think the principals will talk about it when they come to their opening.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank
Any
you
other
all.
questions for Dave? Thanks, Dave. That was a good update. At this time, we're going to do unscheduled public appearances. The board appreciates community members sharing information during public comments. Public comments should be submitted through the designated email address and will be read by the district staff or registered Zoom participants who indicated through the form they wanted to provide their comments live. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes, as is the protocol for board meetings. Public criticism or complaints about school district personnel are not allowed at this time. When it is your time to share your live comment, your name will be called and the district staff will connect you to the meeting. Please state your name and relationship to the district before you read your comment. A district staff member will be timing the comments. They will alert you with 1 minute remaining. The question and answer is available if you're having technical problems, but is not for public comment. Are there any comments that will be given live tonight?
Yes, we have one from Marcy Crowell. Enrique, if you want to bring Marcy in, we can go ahead with that.
Good evening, Marcy. You need to.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, go ahead, Marcy. I'll keep time and I'll let you know when we've got 1 more minute left.
Okay. FGSD board members and administration. I'm speaking today to express my concern with the COVID protocols that have been put into place in our schools. I ask you, the board and administrators, to consider the following numbers and to be proactive in advocating for a return to normalcy for our children. In Superintendent Parker's message dated August 10th concerning the mask mandate, he stated that OHA is monitoring cases and will return the decision-making ability to local districts when they have deemed it safe to do so. Safe to do so. The statement safe to do so is inarguably vague and gives absolutely zero metrics or description of what safe to do so means. The families in this district deserve to have a full understanding of how OHA will deem it safe to return the decision-making to the local level. Data published by the OHA shows that the risk of hospitalization for children infected with COVID is extremely low. Less than 1% of kids who test positive for COVID are ever hospitalized. And even less than 1% result in death. In fact, according to 45 states that have reported to the American Academy of Pediatrics, as of this month, 0 to 0.03 of all child COVID cases resulted in death. So with a mortality rate of less than 1%, OHA does not deem it safe to return local decision-making back to the district. Why? More data from the OHA shows that in Oregon alone, there have been 2 deaths in the age group of 0 to 9 years. And both of those deaths occurred in infants who were less than 1 year old. So in a completely unvaccinated demographic, there have been 2 deaths among over 16,000 known cases. There have been 3 deaths in Oregon in the age group of 10 to 19 out of almost 35,000 known cases.
1 minute remaining.
That's 5 deaths from ages 0 to 19 out of 50,000 known cases. And I say known cases because according to the CDC, they estimate that 16% of children with COVID are asymptomatic. So to recap, in Oregon, there have been 0 deaths among kindergarten to 4th grade children, yet OHA doesn't deem it safe for districts to make decisions at the local level. Why is that? Why are you supporting OHA's mandate to mask our children, to keep them 3 to 6 feet apart, to force them to walk in one-way traffic patterns, to eat lunch outside, to limit their bathroom occupancy at schools, and to cancel extracurricular activities? Instead of focusing on the COVID case count and warm bodies in the classroom, I asked that Forest Grove focus on the mental, physical, and educational well-being of our children. Because at the end of the day, no matter how you spin it, COVID is not a threat to our children. Our children go to school to learn, to make friends, to grow. It's not their responsibility to protect our community or slow the spread of COVID, nor is it the board's responsibility to place that burden on our children's shoulders. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcy. Dave, did you want to comment or at another time?
Well, I think I've already commented on this. I mean, I understand the number one, we're not okay with any deaths. So that's not good. That's not okay. But the other part of this is we will continue to follow the experts' advice around our COVID protocols. And we're in school now and fully, which is great. And we'll continue to work our safety protocols so that we can keep kids in school. I do understand what Marcy's saying, but there's not really a choice here. We will follow what OHA and the governor has laid out. To be honest, the other issue here is anybody who doesn't follow those current mandates, anybody who's licensed in our all of our administrators and the rest, I mean, this is a license violation to not follow those things. It's why across the state you are seeing people continuing to implement the mandates by OHA and the governor.
Thank you, Dave.
Yep.
Kate, you're muted.
Sorry, Dave, do we have any more live Zoom or is it?
We have
district?
two that are going to be read.
Yeah,
Okay.
we have 2 to be read. I can go ahead and do those at this time.
Thank you.
You bet. The first one, dear school community, we are writing this evening with so many concerns as we know, as we now have the kids back to school for their first full week. I guess to summarize our concerns is how unprepared it seems our district was this year to conduct in-person school again. We do realize things are constantly changing, but things like quarantine guidelines, how to provide equal learning access when a child is in quarantine from exposure, busing issues, all should have been clear as we started school and communicated to parents and students ahead of time. Instead, it has left so many with questions and confusion over it all. As we hopefully learned from the last 18 months of how to adapt to the situations thrown our way, we want to ask that our district look ahead and be ready for what is to come. Some concerns on the horizon are standing strong for our kids to not be masked in sports while practicing and competing in sports indoor and outdoors. We are doing this now with much success and ask that if this is ever questioned to mask them again moving forward, that our district keep with our policy and stand strong for those kids to compete in their sports unmasked. Another concern is the kids being forced to quarantine, but one doesn't have symptoms of COVID. They should have an option to provide a negative test at some point. This is a policy other schools have and should be an option we have as well to show positive antibodies or a negative test. This is happening all around the country and it should be an option at our school district as well. Along with this is the fact that we need to have a strong teaching plan for the kids that do get quarantined so they don't yet again fall behind. This needs to be well thought out at all age groups. And last, a huge concern for large groups of families in our district and nationwide is this push to vaccinate children. As mandates come from our government, which are unconstitutional and very controversial, we urge you to have a plan ahead of time of how our district, no matter what, keep personal choice for families to choose the right medical decisions for their families. As we know, kids have mostly mild symptoms with COVID and have robust immune systems that can fight COVID off. They don't need a vaccine to do that for them. Nobody should feel forced into a medical decision, and nobody should be ashamed for decisions they make. The push coming out now is dividing our nation by pitting people against one another, and this is happening all the way down to school-aged children, where this should never be allowed. We urge you to stand for our children, and if the time comes to fight for our children and our medical freedom. Thank you, Chad and Beth Gustafson. The second one. Hello, FGSD School Board and Superintendent Parker. I am writing today to express many thanks for the ongoing communication from Superintendent Parker each week with updates about the safety and logistical information, i.e. buses running late. Our son, Henry, attends Oak Grove and was happy to see the big bus taking him to school last Wednesday. The communication with his teachers and the staff has made the transition as smooth as can be expected. As a mom of a student with a compromised immune system, I also appreciate the school board for following and supporting the mask mandates in place. My sister is a nurse, and I have heard about the daily struggles they have had on the COVID floor with patients coming in. The mask mandate has made a difference in her hospital, and that means it will help in our school setting as well. At this point, on the heels of 9/11, where we honor the sacrifices made by so many, wearing a mask is the smallest of sacrifices that allows our kids to go back to school. My thanks go out especially to the administrators who are juggling multiple safety considerations, staff and parents' questions, and kids' excitement. This board has shown flexibility, patience, teamwork, and communication skills it takes to manage thousands of different expectations. Thank you all for your service to our community with your time on the board. Kevin and Christy Kotke, parents of Henry at Oak Grove Academy. And that's it.
You're muted, Kate.
Sorry, I'll just leave it open. Thank you, David. We're going to move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is made up of routine, non-controversial items to be voted on under one motion. Are there any items within the consent items a board member or the superintendent wishes to discuss separately? Okay, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All right, I will do a roll vote. Mark?
Yes.
Narcy?
Yes.
Val?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
And I'm a yes also. The first presentation tonight will be to the school board oath for Sonia. So Sonia, if you will unmute, and I'll stay unmuted, so I will swear you in. I, Sonia Potsman.
I, Sonia Postma,
will support the Constitution
will support the Constitution
and the laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States
and the state of Oregon,
and the state of Oregon,
and will discharge the duties of student representative
and will discharge the duties of student representative
to the Forest Grove School District Board
to the Forest Grove School District Board
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
We look forward, Sonia, to having you on the board and your wisdom and sharing what's happening at the high school. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. I'm excited to have this opportunity.
All right. The next presentation is Return to School. All right. And John, are you going to lead that?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So tonight we have Mr. Pete Mashinsky representing the elementary schools, PK through grades 4, Ms. Summer Johnson representing grades 5 through 6, Tom McCall and Juliana Kelly representing the middle school, grade 7-8, and Karen O'Neill representing the high school. So what they're going to do tonight, and then I'll go ahead and give you just a brief recap of our new online program, where we're at with student numbers, et cetera. So what we've asked each to do is to just provide some feedback. How's it going? What's going well? And then also a few challenges that we've experienced so far that we are working on addressing. So Pete, would you please kick it off?
Absolutely. Good evening, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. And thank you for the invitation to be here and to share the first 4 days of school. First, what's going well is having kids back in the building is absolutely fabulous. Even beneath their masks, they're smiling, their eyes are sparkling. Their energy is great. When I walk into the classrooms, I get waves and they want a high five, but we make those adjustments and we do elbow bumps and whatnot. My teachers worked extremely hard to create classroom spaces that are warm and inviting. They moved many of the things out to create more space and less clutter so that kids have more room to move around and keep the airflow going. Masks are not an issue. Kids are wearing masks, staff are wearing masks. The students are very respectful of the 3-foot space. Instruction has begun. When I walk into classrooms, kids are doing math, they're reading, they're writing, they're sharing, they're thinking. Excuse me. We're integrating technology, and I have to give a shout out to Enrique and his group that he got us the number of Chromebooks we needed for every student in the building. I don't know how he does it, but he did it. So, of course, we're using those as appropriate for the grade level. Our master schedule is as normal as it has been in the past, of course, with COVID restrictions, but all of our kids are getting their weekly music, PE, counseling lessons, and library will begin shortly. Couple other things I want to say here is having another counselor in the building has been absolutely phenomenal. Just having services to reach out to kids and families much quicker than in the past, just the availability of that individual to work with kids who are dealing with anxiety, separation anxiety, starting school, being away from their parents and whatnot. And then also the additional SSA and ESSER money for instructional assistants. I've never had the opportunity to have 3 instructional assistants in the lunchroom and at recess. And then when we get to be doing reading interventions in the next week or two, we're going to be able to double our capacity with that. So that's incredibly exciting. Few challenges, and these aren't huge. It's only 4 days into the school year. So I don't know what's lying ahead, but I'm very positive. But one thing I keep reminding my staff is we cannot get lazy and passive about the safety precautions. As kids get familiar with their classmates, the building, their routines, they have a tendency to want to get close to each other. So we have to do constant reminders in a nice, warm, respectful way that we need to stay spaced apart. Staff cohesion is going to be a challenge. Teachers are social creatures, and so much of the collaboration and the work they do happens during lunch times, prep times, passing each other in the hallway, staff meetings. But we have to keep those virtual for safety reasons. So I'm going to have to be very mindful moving forward this year on how we can continue to keep those connections. And just lunch, I'm very lucky at Harvey Clark. I have an enormous cafeteria, a great indoor space, but we have used every single table we have. We've spaced kids out. We put little pieces of blue tape where they sit so they stay 3 feet apart. We've had to create schedules where we stagger 2-minute entries for each teacher to get in and get their kids seated, so we don't have any kind of bunching on our ramp leading into the cafeteria. But overall, it's going very, very well. So that's about it for me. So again, thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thank you, Mr. Mashinsky. Mrs. Johnson.
Awesome. Good evening, everyone. And I could almost say ditto to what Pete shared, as it's very similar. I think what's going really well at Tom McCall is the age group is so social as it is. And from day one, getting to see students happy, smiling, and recognizing familiar faces that some of them, it's been a while since they saw them in person, and just getting to see that right away as they walk in the door, as well as at lunch and recess, was really rejuvenating for for staff to see. Students are also doing an amazing job following safety protocols. Masks are not an issue. Distancing, if there is some of that closeness, it's like, oh, can you spread apart a little bit? And they're quick to respond. And oh, of course, staff are working incredibly hard to keep those protocols, safety protocols in place, as well as just being really flexible on lots of new little adjustments that we've had to make things go smoother. I see a lot of problem solving and seeing something that's not working well, and lots of people willing to say, hey, maybe this would work, and helping us just make adjustments to meet everyone's needs. Really, we have 8 lunches because Tom McCall is set into 2 buildings. We have our lunches are kind of split in a little bit different way than Sonia was talking about, but some students are starting recess first while the other half start lunch. And then there is a transition time where they flip. So those students that started with recess will then come in and eat lunch. And the students that started with lunch will go out and have recess. So essentially we are having 8 lunches, but then that we do have 2 buildings. So we have a 5th grade lunch starts recess and one starts lunch, and then the opposite or the same for 6th grade. And that, other than being a little slow at first to just kind of figure out how to get kids in quickly, we had a lot of help from food services. The first couple days, it's going faster every day, and it was a really smooth transition today. And, we have free lunches for students. So that's great to see so many kids taking advantage of that, as well as breakfast. Special started on Thursday, so the first full day for all students. And as students left the building, we were asking, how was your day? Just so many, it was so great. And just really a ton of positive support from parents as they pick up. Some challenges, I would say one of them is an obvious one that we would have expected, was just some stamina for students. When they get into the afternoon, it's a little harder to continue keeping the focus. And so we're working on strategies and ways to keep that going and build up, because it can be expected, of course. Also just getting smoother on some of those things like pickup. We had a lot of parents that are coming to pick up. And so just kind of getting faster at those. Some busing confusion, but that has smoothed out over the last few days. The food protocols, like I said, they were different and they took a little longer, but it was amazing to see just how quickly students adapted and picked up the new procedures. And just really, I think overall, it's just been heartwarming for all of our staff to see students happy. And I mean, students are happy and they're glad to be here. They're excited and they're learning. And so it's all around just been a pretty amazing couple days, a lot of work, but it's been awesome to see that.
Thank you, Summer. Mrs. Kelly.
Hello, good evening. So yeah, I agree with Summer that I could echo everything that both Summer and Pete said. The energy is amazing. Our teachers just feed off of kid energy. And so it's like a brand new staff this year. And our kids are coming in smiling and happy to be in the building, and just walking around and seeing lessons has been so fun to see kids interacting. And we had science classes outside doing some sciencey lower ropes course stuff, and it's just hands-on and off screens and just amazing. After the first day of school with 7th graders, I got lots of comments about kids who were super nervous to come in, and then their parents letting me know that, nope, that was one of the best first days they've had in a long time. And just that those nerves kind of melted away after the first day. And we also have not had a lot of issues with masking. Kids are keeping them on, teachers are keeping them on. The first day we had a few kids wearing gaiters. We learned and clarified that, we're not doing gaiters this year. And then as soon as that was clarified, kids aren't wearing them at school anymore. yeah, just a lot of positivity. So challenges. For lunch, also as a positive, we have kids spaced out in the cafeteria. Everything's labeled and marked, and our kids are doing an awesome job. I expected that to be a lot more of a challenge, and it hasn't been. Been really impressed with our kids. And then they also have this option to eat outside. And they're really enjoying that, sitting in these like circles where they're all spaced out and socializing, and that's been great. So now our challenge will be to figure out a good rainy day space, and I'm seeing some sprinkles coming up. So we're problem solving through that. We are going to have some tables up in Titan Square, probably have some kids eating in the hallway a little bit. And then we have a covered area in the front of our building. So we'll have kids out there if it's not too cold with the rain. And then we had some of the busing challenges that Mr. Parker talked about with our bus driver shortage. That's to be expected. And then, as is on social media, we had our first fight on the second day of school. And I'll tell you that nobody is probably more frustrated than I was about that. And, we're here trying to, create this wonderful reputation for NAMS, because I know how many great staff are here, so many great kids. And then that happened, and it was just like my heart just sunk. But it was I guess a great opportunity for us to debrief and talk about how not to do things and how we could do things differently so that fights like that will hopefully not occur again. It is middle school, so I'm not naive to the fact that fights may happen, but as much as we can prevent that, the better. And we tweaked some things in our supervision systems, and we've had a much smoother couple of days since then. So yeah, I think those are all my things, but overall, there's way more positive than challenges. I thought for sure that, we would see more things come up that haven't as much. So really, really pleased with that. And our kids are super, super happy. And that's the best part. So thank you.
Thank you, Juliana. Mrs. O'Neill, high school.
Good evening, everybody. So it'll kind of sound a little bit like a broken record, but like Sonia said and everybody else earlier, just a ton of positive. Everybody's been commenting on the amount of positive energy, enthusiasm. It's just awesome to have the kids back, walking through the classrooms and seeing full classrooms. I mean, there's not a whole lot of difference, except everybody's wearing masks and they're a little more distant between them. So it is really, really nice. Exhausting, but again, a ton of energy and a ton of enthusiasm. No issues with masks. The kids have been amazing. Staff have been amazing. And again, broken record, but it is a lot of very positive energy and enthusiasm. We did a school-wide advisory. We had to remember that, basically half of our school really hasn't been in our building. And so we've been doing a advisory lesson every day just on how things work at Forest Grove High School, what the protocols are, safety, building relationships, all of that. We have a lot of kids asking questions, even some of our juniors and seniors that haven't been in the building for a while. It's like, where's this class again? So, just a lot of grace, a lot of fun interactions. As Sonia said earlier, we did split into 3 lunches. Our goal was to have about 600 students per lunch. We moved 15 of our long cafeteria tables to the outside patio back on the back side of the cafeteria. And we already had 6 picnic tables back there. So we've got a couple hundred kids eating outside, a couple hundred kids eating inside. Our round tables are basically 4 or 5 kids per table. The long tables are pretty much 7 or 8 kids. The challenge is going to be, looks like starting this Friday with a torrential downpour. No showers, Juliana. It's a torrential downpour. So anyway, that will be interesting, but like Juliana said, we are problem solving that as we speak. And then I would say our challenges with 18 to 1900 kids, break, passing time, kids tend to congregate, but their masks are on. They're following protocols. They are just excited to see each other. just a couple of the bumps with figuring out lunch lines. Lacey's been amazing in food services and just problem solving that and figuring out how to get 600 kids through lunch, safely spaced and on their way. So that's working well. We're getting all of that figured out. And I would say probably our biggest challenge right now are our students that are virtual, our students that chose CDL, because we've got about 100 of them. And each of them has 8 options or 8 class options. So that's 800 possible options for classes. And running everywhere from, your grade level core to honors to AP, and then all of our amazing electives. It is really, really challenging. We don't have that many staff that we can offer everything that our CDL families want. And so that's been a lot of work with our assistant principals, just meeting with families and talking with them and trying to figure out, okay, here's what we can offer. Here's what we really can't, and try and give them as much as we possibly can to make their experience at home in CDL as robust as we possibly can. And yeah, that's it. It's been a fabulous start to the school year. And again, so good to see kids back in the building, in classes, engaged in discussion and learning.
Thank you, Karen. So just real briefly, this is day 4 for our online program. If we don't have enough challenges, let's open an online school. But it's had a tremendous response from our parents, and it has grown to 330 students so far, grades 1 through 12. Right now, we're looking at approximately 45 first and second graders, 54 third and fourth graders, 72 5th and 6th graders. And our online teachers have done amazing. Deb Schenzer, our lead teacher, has been outstanding. She's the 5-6 teacher. Hillary Barraza, our 3-4 teacher, and Laura Bauer is our first and second grade teacher. We've been working as cabinet to get additional support with those kind of numbers. And we are striving to separate the grade levels. So they would be responsible for just one grade level based on the enrollment. The enrollment grew pretty significantly. A lot of parents changing their minds, sometimes repeatedly, to the chagrin of the school secretaries. But that being said, we totally understand. Grades 7 and 8, Juliana, Ms. Kelly has built that into her master schedule. And right now they have 55 students online at this time. And the high school, we have 104 students online at this time. So what we're looking at, since at the secondary level, it's built into a master schedule, you just can't really change an entire master schedule because you would upset every single student, basically in the school. So what we've done is we're going to be looking at class grade level caps at 40 students. And right now, 8th grade is, I think it's capped, but looking at the number today, it says 39. So there might be space. Again, there's some movement. And then grade 10 at the high school is 37 students. So there's still a little bit of room. So what we did is at this point, we gave a deadline and we moved that deadline back and moved the deadline back. And so what we've done now to accommodate parents is really right now, day 4, there really should be a conversation with the counselor and the parent should they wish to change at grades 7 through 12. And Juliana and Karen have made that happen in their system from here on out. As the board knows, what we've asked for is the commitment from parents for the first trimester to remain online from here on out. And then also for the first semester for grades 5 through 12. as much as possible. So that's what we're striving for. We're going to meet the needs of our kids. And again, our teachers have been doing outstanding. Our school secretaries, Deneen over at Harvey Clark, we've housed the online grades 1 through 4 over at Harvey Clark through homeroom. And with these kind of numbers, we might need to readjust homerooms to all schools because we are up to over 100 kids. Grades 1 through 4, or approaching it very quickly. So again, we're going to do like great teachers do, monitor and adjust. And that's the update for online program. Are there any questions for any of the principals or myself at this time? Narcy.
Thank you for the updates. I really appreciate them. I have a question, Mr. O'Neill, and the question is about what are the particular themes that we're seeing in regards to the students that are doing online? Are there any particular themes? Is it because of choice or immune systems, or I mean, what are the themes?
Great question. Great question. The main theme right now is health and safety. What we're hearing from the parents, they're concerned about COVID. Several have multi-generational families. We just made a change at one of the levels of one of the principals here today. We talked about it. This is a perfect example where the parent said, yes, I want online. And one of their children has significant health issues that they've been battling. And she just said, I can't do it. And we moved them to online from in person. Some, it was a better solution. Their kids thrived in online. And even a handful we got from Orvid, which is exactly what we want to do. Remember, we've been advertising that we're special. If you're in grades 1, any of the grades, you can come in for PE. You can come in for music to your neighborhood school. And there's even some options, at the high school where, if students want, it's not just total online. If they want A day online and B day in person for certain electives or AP classes, they're working tirelessly for those creative solutions. So it's really individual student by student basis, family member basis, but I'd say the overriding theme is just the uncertainty with the virus. And we just keep reinforcing, at the end of trimester and at the end of semester, we are also making plans to pivot as needed if what Superintendent Parker has said, the virus declined significantly in December, that we go ahead and plan accordingly to welcome those students into person, but also at the trimester. And again, that's 2 times a year for grades 1 through 4 that they can go ahead and transition to in-person should that family choose.
Dave, I have a question. Do we know what the total enrollment is at this time?
I think that's a next action or next presentation, Kate. Yeah. After this one, it's the enrollment update from John.
Okay, that's all right. All right. Yeah, you're right. It is. Okay. Sorry, I jumped the gun.
It's okay. I just had a quick question. Summer, thanks for bringing up the free lunch. I've been promoting this a lot. It's great. But I was wondering, do the parents have to sign up, or do the students just use their student ID and they're good to go?
They don't need to sign up. I mean, we would love as many families to fill that form out. If they do qualify, that helps the system. But yep, there's nothing. They don't decide every other day that they're going to get free lunch. They don't need to do anything ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so if they wouldn't qualify, then no sense in signing or doing the form. Only if they would, then okay, great. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Is that good for all year, for free lunch or? Yeah, okay. Any other questions for the administrators? That was a wonderful update. I really appreciate it. And, I just excited that the kids are back in school. I just think it's just terrific. It gives everybody a sense of normal, which we so much need. And that interaction it's contagious. So I think I'll move on now. Again, everyone, thank you so much. That really was helpful. Okay, now we're at the enrollment report. Okay, John, so you can answer my question.
Yes, ma'am. And I'm going to screen share, but for the board, Dave, or Kate, can you see my screenshot here?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
As you know, for years on the board, these are very, very, very preliminary numbers. As of today, students in seats, that's what these numbers reflect. So school board members, right at the start of the meeting, I went ahead and sent you this via email. So all of you will have it, and so that you can take a look at it. We've added a column down here at the bottom that says virtual enrollment, grades 1 through 4. You can see it says 77. We're closer to 100, but that's okay. We're working out the glitches and making sure that we have credit for all the kids that are involved in that. And what we're also going to do is add virtual enrollment 5, 6 as well. 7, 8, and 9, 12 are reflected in those schools' numbers. But here you can see where we have comparison. This is the prior year, and this is the current year. So at grades K4, I know it's very small, so I'll go ahead and read that. We have 1,871 students today. That is 1516 is what we had in the prior year. That I believe is, it says 24%. I believe that is this. These are all very, very preliminary. And grades 5, 6 is there, 7, 8, 9, 12. Again, I'll just say that these numbers are just a snapshot. What we're waiting for is for the 10-day drop. That's where this year, remember, the last 2 years, our State Board of Education pulled out the 10-day drop. We kept all students enrolled, whether or not they were attending. The 10-day drop is now reinstated. So that will provide much clearer numbers. Are there any questions?
John, I couldn't read the last total, so just read it to me.
The last total says, it says
Okay.
5444, and it shows that we're up 362 kids. I'm a little concerned by that.
Well, that's what I was seeing.
I don't think
anyway,
that's accurate.
Okay, we know it's preliminary, so that's okay.
Very preliminary.
Yeah,
what we're seeing is well, I don't know. We're going to see kids come in and come out. I met with Pete at what time, Pete? 4 o'clock today. And he said, John, those numbers are wrong. I've got 7 more, kids. And I said, that's what we want to hear. We want to hear kids returning to school. So again, we'll come back with far better numbers.
So I also want to point out that, again, our current enrollment versus what we budgeted on are really the big concerns for us. And so we need to kind of push out to you some of those comparisons, because of what we're seeing right now is what we budgeted against. There's some challenges, and we've got to figure out who's, with the 10-day drop, we know who's enrolled in our school, but how many are actually attending, how many are going to be dropped at the 10-day drop. We have some big concerns about our numbers right now. I met with Washington County Soups today. We're all having across Washington County, K4, K6, most districts are seeing a big drop. And then we're holding our enrollments currently at the kind of secondary levels. So we're getting these numbers out to you, but I just want to give some caution that there's a lot of challenges right now that we're kind of walking through. There's also a lot of conversations going on at the state level because of if across Washington County, across the state, everybody's seeing these drops, then this is really, there's a state problem. We need to start talking about how we're going to adjust to this. So there's a lot of things in motion right now. You'll be hearing more about this, but again, we have lots of concerns right now around where we were budgeted and kind of where kids are at right now.
So I'm looking at this, David, and it's a comparison for where we are right now compared to last year. Is that what I'm reading? 2021?
Yes. Yeah.
So I mean, that would make sense.
Right.
But yeah, the numbers are a little concerning, just looking at the raw numbers.
Yep.
So I would hopefully you guys would keep us posted on where we are in at least the next 3 or 4 weeks to see what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll bring you back again. I think there's, as we start getting closer to this 10-day drop is where we're going to probably have some better numbers for you and then start talking about what our reaction to this needs to be.
And is this butts and seats or is this enrollment? What I'm looking at right now, John?
This is students in seats. So I'm concerned because I need to take a look at this further.
I would question that, but
yeah, I believe the elementary school level is down approximately 154 kids. That's what we're looking at. But it's hard. Like I said, the numbers that Pete had, it's changing. It's a moving target. So
can we go back and kind of rework these numbers and bring this back to the next board meeting?
Absolutely.
I just have a hard time believing these are the right numbers.
Right.
So
the other thought there, yes, absolutely. We would have done that anyway, but let me see if we can't push something out closer to Friday to the board, just on kind of what we're seeing as compared to budget. And we'll kind of go from there.
Thank you.
Yep.
My question is, if the enrollment is down through ages 5 through 11, that probably relates to those kids are not vaccinated, and perhaps the parents have decided not to send them to school because they're not vaccinated. And it'd be interesting to see if that's across the board in the whole state, because those numbers are not going to change, but they may change if they're talking about the vaccine being available sometime in October. Those numbers could change, and the governor's going to need to do some kind of adjustment for our community because parents want to keep their kids safe. They're not going to, that's what they want to do. And so I think that enrollment number could definitely change and increase once the kids get vaccinated.
Which will be part of our challenge, because I would agree with you that as we get through this surge and we start headed towards more of a normal school year, I think we will see that. But the question now is how do we deal with the budget problems now and not hamstring ourselves in a month or 2 months where all of a sudden we're trying to hire again. So this is going to be a very challenging and technical solution. So, but we're seeing it start to emerge, and we'll get you more information as we get closer to it.
Any other questions for John? Thank you so much, John. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm muting. There you go.
I know. Yeah. The first action item tonight is the ratification of the Forest Grove Education Association license contract. The description is the district entered into a limited negotiation process with the Forest Grove Education Association last spring to extend the current contract for 1 year and negotiate Article 18.1 salary and Article 21.1 health insurance. The district and Forest Grove FGEA reached a tentative agreement on July 24th, 2021, and the licensed employees have ratified the tentative agreement, which is attached. The items of the agreement are summarized. For 2021-22, a 2% base salary for the first 6 months, and then a 3% base salary increase for the last 6 months. For 2021-22, a $25 insurance cap increase. So the board is, the administration's recommending that the board approve the attached agreement with the licensed employees for 2021-22 school year. So do I have a motion for this ratification?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, I'll do a roll vote. Mark,
Yes.
Narcy,
Yes.
Val,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
and I'm a yes also. The motion is passed. The second action item tonight is, I'm going to just pull this up, is the ratification for OSEA Chapter 55, the classified contract extension for 2021-22. The district entered into a limited negotiation process with the Oregon School Employees Association Chapter number 55 last spring to extend the current contract for 1 year and negotiate Article 10.1, the salaries, and Article 11.4, medical, dental, vision, and long-term disability insurance. The district and OSEA reached a tentative agreement on August 30th, 2021, and the classified employees have ratified the tentative agreement, which is attached. The terms of the agreement are summarized as follows. For 2021-22, a 3% base salary increase, and for 2021-22, a $5 insurance cap increase. The administration is recommending that the board approve the attached agreement with the classified employees for the 2021-22 school year. So do I have a motion to ratify the classified contracts extension?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Any questions? All right, we'll do a roll vote. Narcy,
Yes.
Val,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
and I'm a yes also. That motion has been passed. The next item on our action items for tonight is the budget committee vacancies. And did you want to present that, Eileen?
Yeah, I can work through that real quick for you. Thank you, Kate. Tonight we have the budget committee vacancies and declaring those open. Typically, what has been done in the past is the board would declare the positions open and then direct us on how you would like to move forward with filling those vacancies. Kyle Johnstone's and Mike Conroy's positions both expired on June 30th of 21. So this year we'll have 2 open positions and the alternate. In the packet, there is a proposed timeline and process and a proposed newspaper publishing for you.
Okay, do you want a motion?
Yes. I would like a motion to, let me see. I'll read the motion. I'll make the motion. I move to declare the budget committee vacancies, 2 regular positions and 1 alternate position through the chief financial officer to contact the previous members to determine their willingness to continue service on the committee, receive applications from interested persons throughout November, and declare the action will be taken at the first regular scheduled board meeting in December to appoint successful candidates to fill the positions. Do I have a second?
I second.
Discussion? All right, all those, I'll do a roll count. Val,
Yes.
Narcy,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
and Brad?
Yes.
And I'm a yes also. The motion is passed. All right, we'll move on to future action items. Let me see. And I think it's the budget process. Is that the budget process calendar? Yeah, so attached is the proposed public budget process calendar for the 2022-23 fiscal budget. That's a future action.
Eileen's here to kind of talk through that if you want, Kate.
Okay. Go ahead, Eileen.
Thank you. The proposed calendar is in the packet. It, for the most part, is consistent with the prior year's budget process and budget calendar. There were two changes that we made this year. The March meeting and the April meeting typically is at the first board meeting of the month. And in this calendar, they are both on the second board meeting of the month to align the budget committee's meetings with the board work sessions. So they would then be on the night of a work session rather than having multiple in the month. So that's the only change from what we have historically done.
Any
Eileen.
questions for Eileen?
One question, the future action item says 2022-23, but is that correct?
Yes, we are currently in the 21-22 fiscal year or calendar year, fiscal year. And so we will be starting that 22-23 budget here in a couple of months.
Okay. Any other questions for Eileen? All right, we'll move on to the next item is the board superintendent operating agreements for 2021-22. Is there any additions or deletions you want to add to the board working agreements, operating agreements? If not, we can go on to the next item that is for future action, and that is the board goals. And we did add a couple things in the board goals, just a couple additions, not many. Did anyone want to add anything or delete anything in these? Mark, did you have something you might wanted to add to the goals, or was that the operating agreements?
Well, I think it was in the goals, and it was Eileen reminded me that we had talked about this. Brad and I are on the fiscal oversight committee, and we were talking about the budget document earlier this year, which seems like so long ago now.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we talked about, Eileen did a great job of providing us samples of budgets from other school districts. Right. And it was really great to look. I know you've looked at maybe McMinnville's and so on. And she did a great job of showing us what other people do. And one of the things that kind of caught my eye was out of the Corvallis School District.
Yeah.
And what they did was really kind of a nice, a really nice package. They encapsulated the district vision and the school board goals, and they put those together. And so, you know, I was looking at it this evening. I had, to be honest, I had not prepared fully for this tonight. But and I know it's a future action item, but I don't know the best way to do this, but maybe to send out, I don't know if we can send out in the next board packet or something, Kathy, this a sample of what Corvallis did with their district vision and school board goals together in the budget document as a consideration for our board to look at.
I'll send it out this week. and then maybe
okay.
kind of play around with it a little bit and see it, give you guys some samples of our own so we can tweak it a little bit before the next board meeting. Would that work?
Yeah, maybe send out the Corvallis. I think it's on page 3 of their document. That's really, and that's kind of the sample that stood out to me. And then we can talk about it. And if it's something that we feel like we'd like to pursue, I think maybe we should. And if not, then that's fine too.
Sure. And then if you have anything you want to change, we made a few changes.
Okay.
After you guys discussed it at your retreat. So those are reflected in the document as well.
Right. Yeah, I think I looked at Corvallis. I think we looked at 4 or 5 2 years ago, and Corvallis has some good things that they've added that I thought was really beneficial also. So I look forward to doing that, Mark and Brad. That was good suggestion. Anything else on the board goals? If not, we will move along. Anyone want to add anything to future board items or board discussion? Okay. And if not, you can review what's already on there. And Eileen has added a monthly financial report at the end. I'm sure you've reviewed that. But thank you, Eileen. That is just real easy to read. I like reviewing that. So thank you very much.
And then just to review our homework. So we'll push out on Friday in the board correspondence some more information about enrollments. And then we'll plan on bringing this back as a discussion item to the next board meeting, which will be time-wise, the 10-day drop and the rest. It'll be a good time.
Oh, that'd be great, Dave. Thank you.
So Dave, can I just ask a quick question on that? And I probably should have asked John, Dave, but maybe John's still on there. I was just thinking about the numbers. I was looking at them. I found the email that Ms. Thrush sent out to us, and thank gosh the numbers were larger on that one than they were on the screen. So are we saying that I think the number was somewhere in the 350s? As being an increase of 7.1% over last year. Is that?
So I think it's a little deceptive because what it's saying is that where we started last year in the middle of this pandemic when we were online and the rest, that the numbers may be up from that starting point, but that's not where we budgeted. And that's the real problem that we have here is that we budgeted on a different set of numbers. And that's the piece that I really need to get out to you all is to kind of look and see where we're at compared to budget.
Okay.
And because of, again, there's some challenges that we have right now. And there's some big decisions for us to make because of if we started normally, if this were a normal school year and we were not showing as many students, we would begin to readjust where we have staffing. Well, that's a little more problematic this year because of increasing class size is not our best move right now. We do have some opportunities, but that's what we need to get some better numbers here, and we need to get that information out to you because this is going to be really challenging.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have liked to see what the numbers were the year before that, the 1920, instead of last year. I think that would have been helpful.
Yeah.
But we're thinking that we're under where we're budgeted.
Well, I'm positive we are.
The number is how much, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
Especially since they're changing daily right now. So that's, I think, what we're going to try and get to you is nail down kind of where these numbers are.
Okay.
And again, there's some other challenges here because again, the high school currently, we haven't seen their 10-day drop yet, but they actually have more students. And so that has its own challenges in their school too. So.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
So, Dave, do we have a number that we were budgeting for? An enrollment number? And what was that enrollment number?
Let me get you the sheet because if I'd be shooting off at the cuff right now, and I'd rather just get you the actual info and then we'll go from there.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the team here? All right, if not, the next board meeting will be September 27 at 5:30, and that will be a work session and a regular board meeting. Thank you for everyone for participation and the knowledge, and really appreciate all that everybody's doing. And I'm so excited that we have the kids back in the building and doing what we need to do. So it's exciting. So thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay, thank you. Good night.